my presentation will be in English. I do understand Hindi, and you can ask me questions in Hindi. First, you will notice that I have changed the title a little bit. Artificial Intelligence in the Service of Education. The idea is to complement the teacher, to give the necessary help. At the end of it, you would be able to address some of the basic questions. Is the AI system thinking like you and me? Is an AI system conscious just like you and me? Can AI system create? I'll leave the questions for you to address, and then I will have at the end of it. One thing is for sure, the modern AI system learns with success and failures, just like you and me learn. It gets smarter with age, just like you and me. Never forgets, unlike you and me, and can store vast amount of information. So the first, let me get a few terms out of the way. Artificial intelligence as opposed to natural intelligence. We exist in a world, computers exist in another world. That's not yours and mine. Therefore, one of the first things I want to impress upon you, building an AI system means describing your world to the computers. Because computers don't exist in your world. I will take you through a journey of artificial intelligence starting in 80s and how they have evolved. That will also help you understand, without being too fastidious about history, what you can pick and choose and include in teaching. Some of them are unusually simple, and within a week or so you can start to play with them, and your students can start to play with them in a couple of weeks. So in the very first 80s, the world of artificial intelligence systems in which the facts of our world were described to the computers. I will use a term, symbolic AI. Late in 80s and 90s, and you will be, I was looking at the program, you will be hearing all of these things in individual session in great details. Along the 90s, artificial intelligence was inspired by natural intelligence, how our brain works. And in that sense, the artificial intelligence system started to learn. Emphasis on the word learn, just like children learn. And I'll bring it to your attention the fundamental ideas about it. Welcome to 21st century. It is way ahead now. And we call it cognitive computing, and I'll give you a brief understanding of what that is. So the world we describe to computers. We describe facts. Example. Elephant is bigger than horse. This particular fact, I am describing it to computer in a structured fashion in a particular language used in artificial intelligence. So this is an accurate statement of fact in a particular language used in artificial intelligence. I repeat, an AI system has no idea about the world. You have to describe. And some more facts. In the same spirit, horse is bigger than donkey, donkey is bigger than dog, donkey is bigger than monkey, etc., etc. And you can have any number of facts. And once these facts are given to the computer, AI system, you can ask questions about that world, about the world of computers. And here is a question. In the terminology of the language, it's called a query. Nothing big deal. And the question is donkey bigger than dog? Since it has already been populated with those facts, it will say yes. In its world, that fact has been given. You ask a different question, is monkey bigger than elephant? In its world, that fact doesn't exist. It will say no. But if you ask, is elephant bigger than monkey? Since this fact does not exist in the computer yet, it'll say no. Even though in your world and my world, elephant is definitely bigger than a monkey. So the facts alone are not sufficient to populate the computer with intelligence. Here comes the second part. The world is made up of facts which children learn as they grow, but they also learn certain rules, the easy way or the hard way, but they learn anyway, that if you put finger in the flame, you will get burned. And here is an example of a rule. So in the world of the first generation artificial intelligence, there were facts and there were rules which populated the world of the AI system. This is an actual rule in an actual AI language. It says that the relationship between two objects, relationship is bigger, which I have highlighted in green. X is bigger than Y if X is bigger than Y is a fact in the data. Or X is bigger than Y if X is bigger than Z in the fact. And also it can be discovered that Z is bigger than Y. Please notice that blue is facts and green is a rule. Now if you ask a question, having given this rule to the computer, now if you ask a question in your world of computer, of AI, is elephant bigger than monkey? He'll say yes. Because he can say that elephant is bigger than horse, horse is bigger than donkey, donkey is bigger than dog, and donkey is bigger than monkey. And therefore, I can infer from the rule you have provided that elephant is bigger than a monkey. So in the first generation artificial intelligence systems, there were facts, and I will not be surprised if students can put in facts to their heart delight, and they can come up with rules to their heart delight and start having conversation with the computer. It's not a big deal. This is not hard. This is the first generation symbolic AI. With a little bit more feel for the language, one can ask a question. Who is bigger than monkey? Notice that X I am using. X is, I'll use the term, a variable. Just a placeholder, nothing else. What is that X which is bigger than monkey? As soon as I enter this query, it says horse is bigger than monkey. If I say, tell me more, he'll say, elephant is bigger than monkey. I said, tell me more, he says, there's nothing else bigger than monkey. Not in my world. You might say that, well, Empire State Building is bigger than monkey in your world, but that fact doesn't exist in the AI system. So first thing I want to impress upon you, in the first generation artificial intelligence, facts and rules are given to the computers, and then you can start asking questions. And these facts and rules are not fixed forever. They will be added with time. So now, one last query before I move on. I want to ask which animal is bigger than monkey but is smaller than donkey. In my world of computer, tell me the name of an animal which is bigger than monkey and is smaller than donkey. In that world, there doesn't exist any such animal, because the facts that have been given do not have any such animal. And therefore say no. This is just one more interesting query in which you can say, tell me this as and this. I'll move on without getting too much into the weeds. Now I want to emphasize, recall that in this paradigm of artificial intelligence, the world is made up of facts and rules. The facts and rules are provided by us. Computer does not have ability to take on facts by themselves. By the end of this session, I will tell you that the computers now, in the latest generation of AI systems, can acquire facts themselves. In this first generation of AI systems, there were expert systems which were built for medical diagnosis. That if there is a fever and there is a high blood pressure, then this is the chance, this is the diagnosis. Or automobile diagnosis system, if the car is making a rattling sound and it is having difficulty in the transmission, then this is the chance that the diagnosis is. Now to you as a teacher, how all this idea you can bring it to a child? In my firm belief, children like to play. That's all they like to do. And they learn by playing. They would rather be playing than sitting in the classroom. But if you can bring that playfulness into the classroom, it improves their interest, increases their interest. And here is a very well-known dilemma of a farmer, of which all of us have played with. So a farmer has a boat, he has a goat, a bundle of grass, and a wolf, and he wants to cross the river. And what is the best way? All of us know the solution. He takes the goat to the other side, leaves the goat, comes back, takes the wolf to the other side and brings the goat back, takes the grass to the other side, leaves the grass with the wolf, comes back and takes the goat. There is a sequence of rules that have been used in finding the solution of this puzzle. That the goat and the grass should not be left together because the goat is going to eat the grass. The wolf and the goat should not be left together because the wolf is going to eat the goat. And only one other passenger can go with the farmer. This is a puzzle. And it can be easily programmed by setting the facts and the rules. And it's a lot of fun that if a student can set up facts and rules and start seeing, oh, how did it find out the solution? Another example, and this is just another puzzle, because I honestly believe children, especially in middle school age, they like to play. And so there are these 5 Baker, Cooper, Fletcher, Smith living on different floors, and there are certain facts. Baker does not live on the top floor, Cooper does not live on the bottom floor, Fletcher does not live on either the top or the bottom floor, Miller lives on a higher floor than Cooper, etc., etc. And we want to ask a question. Who lives where? Facts and certain rules. And the system will navigate through and figure out the puzzle. Moving on to the second generation artificial intelligence system, in which the keyword is learning. And I see lots of talks in the coming days in which you will be hearing about neural networks. It is inspired by nature, and the artificial intelligence system imitates human learning. The key word is learning. All of us are in the business of helping students learn. How can computers learn? For example, if you show a child many times over and over pictures or real butterflies and tell them that these are butterflies, I'll call it a training set. The child is learning the vocabulary. Key important idea is learning. And by the end of, after training or learning, it is conjectured that in our brain the neurons are programmed or get attached to a concept and later on when we see another butterfly, that fact that we have learned the butterfly before, we have seen the butterflies before, comes into focus and we say it is a butterfly. Similarly, you show a child the picture of an iris flower and in many different shapes and forms, in colors, and the child will see another flower which he has never seen and will say, yes, it is iris. No, it's not iris. This is the second generation artificial intelligence systems. We call it machine learns. And I see the word machine learning in many of the talks. So it is made up of 3 steps. Train, just like child is trained, learns, using a training set. So you present hundreds, maybe thousands of pictures of butterflies to the computer and it will have, and I'll tell you a little bit more, you will hear much more later on, a little bit more about the neural networks. Once it has formed the weights between the neurons, you present a new picture of a butterfly or an iris, it will be able to classify. So these are the steps in machine learning: train, test, deploy. It is inspired by how our own neurons function. On top is a image of a human neuron where there are these dendrites and axons, and this is a model of a artificial neuron in an artificial neural network. It is inspired by the natural network. This is a cross-section of our own brain, which is showing many neurons with their dendrites and axons, and this is a artificial neural network. This is a typical. Many different neural networks have been discovered and tried. In short, in very simple words, this is how it works. These are, let me call, artificial neurons, and it is presented with many images of cat, and it will automatically discover the weights of these links between the neurons. We are presenting only the images of cats and not of fans or tables. So we are using a set which we have selected ahead of time. We call it a training set. At the end of the training, these weights along these links would be stabilized. Later on, when the system is deployed, if you present the image of a cat, it will be able to say, is this image cat or not a cat? This is a very simple example of a artificial neural network. You will be hearing that a great deal in next few days. This is the second generation artificial intelligence systems. So there was first in which we had to describe facts and rules in somewhat structured format which the computer can soak in and store it away, and then we can ask questions. That was the first generation artificial intelligence. The second generation artificial intelligence was neural networks, where we do not present the facts as simple sentences of statement of facts, but we present them as images or sound bites. The weights of the links are settled by machine learning. Machine learns just like a child learns. But it doesn't stop once and for all. You can present more images and the weights will be refined. To begin with, there is no weight attached to the links. Just like an infant has a blank screen inside their brain. Slowly they develop understanding of words, pictures, sounds. In the same way, the machine learns. Now I'm getting a little bit more into detail, although you'll be hearing much more in coming days. So learning also has supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Supervised learning is, as the word suggests, I am providing, and I know the images are of cats, or the images are of zebra, or the images of iris. What if I don't know what it is? I have images of cells under the microscope. I don't know what I'm looking at because nobody has discovered what it is. Is it a cancerous cell? Is it a malignant cell? A benign cell? What it is? In which the data labels are unknown. And we simply present it to the network to put them into clusters. Objects in one cluster are more similar to each other than objects in other clusters. Example. Let me show you example. On the left are image of a zebra. On the right, image of an elephant with artificial stripes. If you present lots of images and none of them are labeled, the AI system should be able to put them into clusters. That, well, this second image is too dissimilar to the first image, too dissimilar. Whereas all the images of zebra will be somewhat similar. This particular term is called cluster analysis. So there are different clusters. All the objects which are similar are put into clusters. Objects which are similar to each other within the group, but they are dissimilar to objects in other clusters. This is just a rule of thumb that about the data that you have, about 60 to 75% is used for training and the rest is for testing. Testing means, how good is my system? You want to test it, how good is my system? Is it doing any good? We know ahead of time that what is the nature of the data. So you train the model on the data with the existing classes, testing the data that was not used, and then evaluate, comparing the accuracy of the model between training and testing. And then we deploy. Some of the applications are interesting that people who buy coffee, they also buy cinnamon twist to along with. And that can be an application of, now I am moving into 21st century. This is how the latest artificial intelligence systems are. They call it cognitive computing. The word cognitive borrowed from psychology. It combines the ability for the computer to process natural languages and machine learning. So let me tell you a very quick fun fact. In 90s, there was a major competition between the world champion of chess, Kasparov, with a computer, Deep Blue. But the computer in 90s were strictly driven by symbolic AI. The rules of the chess are fixed once and for all. Everybody follows the same rule. At that time, we did not have AI systems which are today. In 90s, the grand challenge was between Kasparov and Deep Blue won. This is a computer. 2011, one of the most difficult games. The data is not structured, the questions are not structured, the information is not structured. Let me work on a little bit more on what I mean by structure. When you read a paper in a journal written by a human being to be read by a human being, the information in the paper is unstructured. It is not as simple as writing a statement, elephant is bigger than monkey. No, it is unstructured information. Most of the information for human consumption is unstructured. 2011, IBM created a system called Watson, and they put it next to the world champion Ken and Brad, and the computer won. You can ask any question in any field. The computer will navigate through at tremendous speed and find the answer in a manner similar to how we find answer. So let me work on how we find answers. Human beings make decisions which is based on evidence. And they go through 4 steps. They observe, they generate hypotheses. What are the possible answers? So there is they look at the body of evidence, they generate hypotheses. Then each hypothesis is evaluated based on the evidence. What is the confidence that you can attach to the hypothesis? And then you give the answer with the highest confidence. The same process that we make decision with is imitated in the new systems, artificial intelligence systems. And I'll tell you how incredible it is. This is just a term, cognitive computing, which is trying to separate themselves from the traditional artificial intelligence systems, which is symbolic, in which the facts were given in a structured manner, or the machine is learning, as in machine learning. Here the information is completely unstructured. In the same way you comprehend the story in the newspaper, exactly in the same way. You analyze the text from beginning to end, and no stories are identical. In the same way the computer can quote, comprehend, unquote. Let me work a little bit more on that, and you will be able to understand how it goes about doing that. It first will analyze the text for the simple structural elements, which part is the noun, which part is the verb, subject and object, goes to the next level, which particular objects in the sentence 1 are attached to which objects in sentence 5. It will start constructing a level by level abstraction of the story and extract knowledge, just like you and me extract knowledge when we read. So that these systems scan and parse and interpret languages which have been around for a long time, natural language processing, as opposed to a structured programming language. A structured programming language is not very friendly. It's not written for human beings. But the new systems can use the natural language processing abilities and combine with the machine learning which I spoke about 15 minutes ago, and these are the new systems. Now, unlike the old AI systems in which the data was structured like in databases, AI systems can understand, comprehend unstructured data. Unstructured data appears all around us, whether it is in newspaper stories or in social media or blogs. They are all unstructured. You want to extract knowledge from this unstructured data which is all around us using these systems which can comprehend just like you and me. So text analytics, which one of the talk is on text analytics, which can get a sentiment of a text. Is it a positive sentiment or not so positive sentiment? So it can extract knowledge. These are all. You pick any book, it is not a database, it's unstructured. It's written by human beings for human beings. The earlier artificial intelligence, which I started off with, the data was presented in a very structured fashion. Whether it's literature, blogs, articles, tweets, everything is unstructured. It is not very difficult. It's really not very difficult for writing an application that can scan through a text and pick up some basic information such as phone numbers or names, dates and times, because there are some conventions how humans write dates and time. So what I am presenting to you is already at work. So a medical doctor who wants to absorb all the latest research is limited by his access and ability to read, whereas computers have no limitation. You can keep on expanding the amount of data, and it is actually deployed in cancer research. So it can tell you new metallurgy, new alloys. The emphasis is on data. Data which you and me are not providing. The computer is soaking in the data from an unstructured literature, publications, articles. It generates hypothesis, looks for evidence, gives weight to each hypothesis, and answers the question with the highest confidence. Now I come back to the original three questions. You might wonder, is the AI system thinking? In my personal view, probably not. Not like you and me do. You might ask, because it is almost indistinguishable. When you are interacting with the AI system, it is indistinguishable whether the answer is coming from a real human being or from an AI system. So you might wonder, is this AI system conscious? And in my view, probably not. It can create art. In fact, it can create beautiful music. Just to give you an example, having heard about learning, let us say you provide to the AI system all the beautiful symphonies in the world, and as a musician, those who know more than I do, there are certain sequence of notes which work better together. So the computer can learn which sequence of notes lead to better music. Once it has learned, it can create music. And believe me, computers, AI systems have created some of the most beautiful music in the world today. So for the last AI system, can it create? Probably yes. I would think yes. But can it think? I wouldn't say so. Is it conscious? I don't think so. The purpose of any AI system in the world of education is to help a teacher. The important thing is to help the teacher, not to take the place of a teacher. Not at all. There is no place for AI to match with a teacher. It is to make learning interesting, help their students. Computers can learn. Each time there is a failure, they can revise the weights. Each time there is a success, they can revise the weights. In the artificial neural network, they can revise the weights. They can learn with success and failure, just like children do. Each time a child is navigating through a room with lots of hurdles, it stumbles once, second time it avoids that. They get smarter with age because more knowledge can be given to the AI system. They never forget. I think that they have an edge over us. They never forget. Any knowledge, any data, any information that you have given to the AI system stays there forever. It can learn, but it never forgets. And it can store vast amount of information. It is at work at Sloan Cancer Institute, Cleveland Clinic, Anderson Cancer. So these systems are already working in many places. So that is a quick look at AI as it has progressed from a symbolic AI to machine learning to cognitive computing. I would like to answer questions if you have. I would like to answer questions if you have. If you hesitate to ask me now, you can ask me later. I'll be around. Any questions?
want to ask you that is the AI system related decision making?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, the purpose of an AI system is to help in making decisions based on what it has learned from data. Give you an example.
For example, driverless cars.
Yeah.
Can they be able to take decisions based on simulations which is coming out of AI?
So, if the question is whether they can make the decision today in 2019,
I'm talking about 21st century development.
yes. In fact, they can make as good or even better decisions. Let me give you an example. This last slide, if you notice, the Cancer Research Institute, Anderson Cancer Research, as a physician who practices oncology, I have a limitation in terms of how much research I can read. Spread over hundreds of journals. Every day the journals are coming out with new information in literature, medical literature. Now imagine for next 2 minutes that a machine can comprehend each of those messages, each of those articles, comprehend and extract knowledge. It's a machine.
Yes.
And once it has comprehended that literature, that medical literature, the chances that you as an oncologist will be helped or guided to, oh, by the way, you forgot about this research which has come out recently. So it can not only help a oncology, in fact, in some of the cases it can make the diagnosis even better than, so they have come out with systems, and these are deep systems, meaning they have all the, imagine for next 2 minutes, all the possible research ever been done in cancer research is in the storage, everything, and it keeps on adding. No human being can absorb all of that, whereas it's a machine. You keep on giving, but the important fact is that it is unstructured information, as opposed to the structured information which I started off with, or databases if you have come across, which everything is nicely structured. Those were the information given by humans to computers. Now is the systems which is written by humans for humans, but the computer is able to comprehend it. And it can keep on building the knowledge base, and then it can make better decisions. Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Sir, can AI grasp emotions?
Okay, so this is a tough one. Can it, what was the first part?
Grasp emotions, sir.
So-
It functions through emotions, sir.
So, which is what I meant by my so that's okay. This, yeah, this. Yeah. So this is related to what I started off. Is this AI system thinking? In my view, probably not. It is not a conscious entity like you and me. However, it has expanded the possibilities of being able to learn and create, which is also a human activity. So I would not go as far as saying that can it express emotions. I wouldn't say that. But it can create. It can create visual arts, it can create performing art, it can create all kinds of arts, which is a great achievement. It can compete with human beings in intelligent tasks, some of the toughest problems these machines are capable of doing.
Thank you, sir.
We know that AI system is ever evolving system. Still, why we have given another process which is called deep learning?
Deep learning is essentially, so that little neural network, little bit picture I showed you, people have experimented with multiple layers of networks. So in that, for example, there are one hidden layer, an input layer, output layer, then you have two hidden layers, three hidden layers, deep network. So the word deep learning comes from how deep the network is. Also, I would like to give you a very lay explanation. We don't make a conscious decision when we are reading text, but later on in the paragraph, we automatically know that this particular word makes a reference to the word, the name Adam, in the second sentence of the paragraph. We know that. Now these analytic systems have to build those connections, which is what I meant by comprehension. And the network need not be one flat network. It can be network which abstracts or extracts information from the raw text. Then it builds those pieces, those sentences can be the input to a next level network, which can give to a next level network. Essentially, I can use the word abstraction. In our thinking also we perform abstraction. So there are lots of different things which are happening without us making a conscious, and computers are trying to imitate. They are just trying to imitate. That's why it's artificial neural network, not real. That's why it's artificial intelligence, not natural intelligence. So they are just trying to do that, and they have come a long way.
Thank you.
You just mentioned the potential of AI to create both visual and performing arts. Right? That was very interesting for us. And as educators, we would be interested to know, can AI simply create, or can it also teach visual and performing arts, and how or to what extent? Like creating is one thing, it can create music, but how do we utilize it for teaching it to children?
So I should confess, I am handicapped in visual arts, okay, or performing arts. I don't have a clue about music, okay, I can't read music, but
no, I'm just talking about technology
yeah, so
is available to.
So for example, so there are platforms.
Okay.
There are platforms. I'm using the word platform as a generic placeholder, which has inside the box, which can soak in the natural sound. Let us say, in a very simplistic manner, I was giving example of image of cats. Let us say I give sounds, and from these sounds, this box, so this machine learns, and this machine learns and says, and you can provide a training set. Oh, this is a good sound, this is not a good sound. Okay, that's your subjective. So this is a sound which makes people happy, this is a sound which doesn't make people happy, etc., etc. Now you say that, okay, give me a sound which makes people happy. It has already figured out by looking at patterns in the music. Now, patterns in the music or patterns in the image are simply different way of raw data. It's just sound and this is image, and this is one dimensional, this is two dimensional, or text. So this is text is another raw data, but the essence of the machine is the machine learns. Once it has learned, then you say, okay, give me a song which makes people happy or make people dance. Then it will create a music, because it has seen the patterns based on what you have already given it as a learning part, which I think you're going to hear a lot about neural network. So the machine has learned, and once it has learned, then it can keep on learning, but based on what it has already learned, it can generate something. It can generate.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. You've been very kind, and I wish you really well for this ambitious project. This is a very ambitious project. It is. I have not even heard of such a project in US. This is really ambitious. I am very impressed by your enthusiasm, and I wish you all the well, and let me know if I can be of any help. So.